Okay, so let's take a look at first the general things. The caliber speed on the average is about 94, 95. This is elite men's average, including professionals, professional players, college players, and then some teaching professionals. Their average is about 110. You're way short. You need to increase speed. This is when the speed is normalized to your body height. So you should generate a lot more speed. But you don't have to compete with the professionals, but at least when you bring it to maybe 105. And then overall time, swing time is close to 1100 milliseconds. That's a bit slow. You need to speed up the backswing.
More.
That's crazy.
And
Okay.
actually, it can be a lot faster than what you currently do. And also, so this shows the caliber speed. Now, from here to here, this is backswing. Your peak, caliber speed peak is right at the center here, right? But this peak should be more on the right side here. So initially you can go a bit slower, but then you build this speed here. So going to the climax here. Okay. So as if you're angry toward the end of the backswing.
Okay.
So when you have generally when you have an early action and then you just let it go, then you have the peak at the center here. But I want to see this more toward the end of the backswing.
So slower initially and then more. Okay.
So you have to build a lot more effort toward the end of the backswing. But what you do is just throw and then your wrist is still too loose. We talked about this your last visit, but this is a bit too loose. And then you need to slow this down nicely, but not too far down here. You have to maintain a little bit of tension here. Then it will improve the connection between your body and the club. Okay, so go up, and on the way down, you should be able to use the body, but because you are allowing this on the way down again, this is what you do here. So, so this peak should happen toward the end of the backswing, and then from there you have good connection to the downswing, then this will increase rapidly up here. So now this is perhaps you will be shocked by this. This is a top view. This is target line. This large rectangle is your swing plane. It is actually
Outside in.
inward here. And then about 9 degrees on the average inward. And also the standard deviation is large. So from trial to trial, the direction is changing. Obviously, amateur players, the swing is not as consistent as professional players. But so this was 9 degrees inward, 11.8 degrees inward. So the standard deviation 1.7.
Ouch.
And then also the this smaller rectangle here, this is hand motion plane. It's even more inward here, 15.4 degrees inward. And then standard deviation 2 degrees.
Cool to know.
And then so the reason why you have this is that, again, you're dropping this, and then you have to throw this and then try to pull this so the hands are going in. So when you maintain with more tension here, you don't have to pull the hands inward because you have good connection here. Just reverse the direction and throw. But if your wrist goes too loose here, then bring this and then swing this way. But what happens? You're throwing it, so almost a casting-like action, and the hands are going inward here. So everything is pulled inward.
Wow, that's helpful. Thank you.
So at the instant of impact, you will see that your club head is still, you're hitting up, so this will be slightly right side of this line here, but still is fairly inward, out to in here.
And I can fix that with the trigger and a tighter grip or a more firm
And then you
wrist.
keep a bit of tension here so that you have to nicely slow this down, because of that, you have to build the kind of climax toward the end of the backswing, and then slow this and then let it go. So like if we use a Jedi analogy, then wang instead of wang and then drop it and then try to wang again. Okay. Now this is when everything is aligned along the swing plane here. Then as you can see, this straight line is your swing plane here. And it's passing above this point here. So it's passing through the upper trunk here. This is quite steep. And then the slope is 52.8 degrees. For your height, it's got about 48 degrees. So it's a steep. That means that what you need to consider is perhaps moving the ball more away from your body, lean the upper body a bit more, so that you can have a flatter swing plane here. So currently you are maintaining fairly upright body posture. And particularly if you look at in the frontal view here, when you hold here, you're actually bending the elbows here. You're holding it like this. And then throw this high and then let it go. But instead, keep the arms a bit straighter and then move this way here so that you can move the whole body as one unit. So develop this coiling in the body. In order to speed up the club head, then you have to use the bigger muscles more. But currently, throw and then this is the main action here. So you have to engage these muscles here. But for that, this is really bad position here. And then you are pretty much maintain this upright body posture, standing. So the reason why at the end I ask you to respond to my signal is because that way you can have more active backswing motion. But the way you started the backswing motion, although you're throwing it well here, but still the body is too quiet. Push and then throw, maintain that motion so that you create good coiling. So the swing plane is steep. That means that you are using either wrist or arms a lot instead of using the body. When you start the downswing motion with the body, then you can nicely shallow so that this becomes a bit flatter here. And then basically you're standing quite tall also. So experiment the distance. So move the ball more away from your body and then lean a bit more, reach out, and then see which one gives a more consistent swing. Okay? This red line is the center of mass of the body. So it is moving from here, it's going away, and then this way, and then coming all the way down here. This is impact. Okay, this is impact. So basically, your body center of mass is moving away, and diagonally up, the diagonally down here, all the way to impact. However, what actually should happen is, initially goes away, and then it goes higher up, coming down more, and then going more up here.
How do I do that?
For that, you have to increase the vertical interaction with the ground. Currently, you are moving horizontally too much. So if you look at the center of mass path, it's showing a lot of horizontal motion, but not much vertical motion. Particularly, drop this, and then from here, the low point should be so on the way down, around here, the center mass should be at the low point. From this point on, the center mass has to move up. For that, you should be able to push the ground good. So you need to have more up and down motion. Okay? So, but as you see here, throw the club around your body here. You're going to this position, and then from there, just the turning around, opening the body, and then you're throwing the club. And then the knees are kind of bent here. They're not pushing the ground that actively. So that's why the center of mass is not moving up. But later we'll see the way you interact with the ground. This is the pelvis motion. This is the rotational motion of the pelvis. The red line shows this rotation. So from here to here is a right rotation. From here to impact is a left rotation. And then so right rotation from here to 0, you are returning to a neutral position. Once you pass this, then you are turning toward the target. And then here, let me change the scale here. This is the elite man's average here. So you're turning a bit more in the backswing direction in terms of pelvis motion, and then you are not turning it as much at impact. Yeah. So again, look at this here.
That could help straighten the leg if you turn more.
So with this motion, the rotation is a bit more than man's average, and on the way down here, now the pelvis is sliding this way, kind of sliding this way, but not really turning. It's because your body is more upright. Your posture is kind of upright here, holding this way here. But if you lean a bit more and then turn about the spine axis, keep the swing plane fairly perpendicular to the spine axis here, then your priority is turning this way instead of standing and then more going this way. Okay? So you're maintaining quite upright body posture. That's something you have to experiment. So when you put the ball, keep the ball more away from your body, then you have to lean forward a bit more. And you cannot also bend the elbow here. Rather, reach out a bit more. Okay? And then almost shaking hands with the club.
He was at 40, he was at 50 something, straight up. And you said by getting it out, that would be
About 48 degrees.
And that would end up changing that as well. That would automatically.
It'll change a lot of things. Because
That's the spine angle?
the spine angle, yeah. So you lean a bit more, and then more or less a turn about the spine axis here. Then motion becomes simpler here. But currently, your body is upright, so if your body turns this way, then the swing plane is like this, then you have up and down motion here. When you have up and down motion of the arm, generally the body goes like this. But if you incline a bit more and then so pretty much maintain this kind of alignment here, you're more or less turning here, so you don't have to do this. Your hands don't have to go up and down too much. More going around here. Okay? And then the X factor here. The X factor is the separation between the hips and shoulders here. So the pelvis line and the shoulder line here. So about here, these are aligned here. But interestingly, so at the setup, your shoulders are open, but your pelvis is closed. When we look down in the swing plane view here. So instead, just to have a little slight open posture for both here. This is better currently.
One more time. Right now I'm setting up for a slice, or out to in swing with my shoulders. It'll be an out to in swing.
No, because the ball will be slight on the left side here. It's natural to have open shoulders. It's natural. But then your pelvis can also show slight open posture here. From here, then you can, from this position, it's easier to use the leg and then turn. But if in this image here, your pelvis is already slightly turned this way, shoulders are open here, it's because you're holding it this way. But instead, keep it here and then a little bit of opened body toward the target, and then you can start backswing turn. So your zero X factor happens here. These two lines are now parallel to each other. And then, so up to this point, you have a bit steeper slope here. Then from that point on, the slope becomes a bit flatter here. Okay. This is elite men's average. So they have a lot more separation between the hips and shoulders. Yours is about here. It's partially because you are turning your pelvis a bit more than the average. So your pelvis goes more, then you will have less separation between the pelvis and the shoulders. And then also, if you look at the shoulders, at this point, your shoulders are not turning more than 90 degrees, but slightly less than 90 degrees. So your shoulders are not turning enough, and your pelvis is turning a bit more. So the separation between the two is smaller. So your pelvis line is, the shoulder lines are going this way. It's not crossing the 90-degree point, but you have loose wrist here, so you are letting the club go a lot more without turning this enough.
Bigger coil.
Yeah, so you need to feel the coiling here. When the spine develops a coiling this way, it's okay. But when it goes to the complex bending and then coiling at the same time, that it is grinding the discs. But with just the turning, it's okay. This is safer than combining it with the bending and then rotating at the same time. Yeah. So your X factor is not that large here. It's because the pelvis turns quite a bit. But this is actually easier. When you turn the pelvis a bit more, then it's a bit easier on your body. That's true. But if you want to increase the speed, then you also have to separate between the hips and shoulders a bit more. Okay.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can get even more than I have.
I think by stretching out, you'll end up getting more.
Well, he has really good thoracic mobility,
Yeah.
But this is as far as I can go, and that's not beyond 90.
but
Yeah, but
maybe
if you're standing up and if you're, you're
So one thing you can work on is chin. Lift the chin a little bit, then let the shoulder turn.
Because your body, with your hips moving a little bit, your shoulders are going to rotate even farther.
He doesn't want the hips.
No, but
Oh, right now.
like right
yeah,
now.
okay.
The pelvis rotation is enough, and I think you can turn your shoulder even more.
I mean, look at your hips are pretty turned there, and you're sitting still. You've got the flexibility to make that happen.
But you don't need to go any more because of this club motion here. You are letting the club go down quite a bit here. If you turn more, then the club goes crossover.
should there be any wrist hinge? When does that happen in the swing?
So here, around here, you can see that he's allowing the club going too much.
Right.
And then you need, last time I remember, telling you that you need to have a little bit tension here so that you don't just drop it. If you drop enough, as you can see in the long drivers, when you drop the club head quite a bit here, but if your downswing is more body driven, keeping the club close to your body driven, then this is really good for speed generation. But what you're doing is from here, throwing the club. That's why.
What you want to do. You want to throw the club.
No.
body
Not
height.
throwing this way, this way, using the body action here. At the beginning of the downswing, you need to have this action, like a drawing sword.
Versus what? What I'm
Current
doing.
you're doing is this. Because of this, it's a casting-like action here. Later, when we look at the kinematic sequence, you'll see that. But so when you have good body-driven downswing here, then you can let it go here. Then you can activate the muscles early here, then let it go. But the problem is you're using this here, more or less. So that's what we see here. The maximum X factor is not really well correlated to clever speed, but if you don't have enough separation here, then you are losing a lot of speed. So because you need to increase the speed.
Would you say that's the number one issue?
So you have to turn the shoulder a bit more, so at least go to the 90-degree position, and then you develop tension in the wrist reasonably so that you don't just drop it, okay? And then hold it here, as you saw in the Jeff's stops about here, but that's coming from active motion and then going there instead of loosening this a little bit. Okay?
I'm cheating. That's cheating.
So, and then kinematic sequence here. Kinematic sequence means, this is based on the angular velocity, rotational velocity. We have 3 different sequences here. The backswing sequence, the transition sequence, and the downswing sequence. The backswing sequence is based on the peak angular velocity during the backswing. So if you look at these curves here, the red line reaches peak value here. The green reaches here, blue reaches here, and then, so red is the pelvis, green is thorax, the blue is the shoulders, gray is the arms, and then this is the club here. So you have a good sequential backswing motion. However, these peaks are occurring too early. So that means you have an early quick action, but then mostly you are letting the club go here instead of building body motion as well. So try to have the image of you are angry, and then when you try to hit something hard, and then boom, right?
So slow, speed up.
Yeah, then you are developing the climax more toward the end of the backswing. Then what happens is these peaks will be delayed. So if these occur close to the center of the backswing, middle of the backswing, then this peak goes about here. So the club angular velocity peak occur a bit later, toward the end of the backswing. But what this means is that you have early quick motion here. Then mostly using the throw, you're just letting the club go here. But the whole body has to maintain the continuous motion here, build more climax later in the backswing. Okay? So you will be able to kill a lot of things. Now you're angry. Boom, boom.
I thought it was already fast, but
It is fast.
it's not fast enough. I guess.
Now here, the next one is the transition sequence, but these are transition almost at the same time. It's because during the backswing, the main motion is this motion here. With this, you don't have to turn the body that actively. With this loose wrist motion here. When you have a lot of motion here, then if you add more body motion, then this goes too much, right? So you are actually downplaying the body motion, and they're just allowing this. So then, pelvis goes first here. So pelvis transitions first, and then the rest are pretty much all clustered here. It's because of this too much wrist motion. And also, this pink line is the wrist angular velocity observed on the swing plane. Negative value means cocking. Positive means uncocking. So you have a little bit of uncocking like action here because you have
Little drag.
yeah,
Should be a throw, not a drag.
it's more throwing here instead of this motion here. And then so you have a cocking here, but with the rest of the body, pretty much you're starting uncocking here. This is early release, so you have a casting-like action there. When you swing the rope or some other things, it's not like this. But when you have a club in your hand, then this happens.
I got homework to do.
Yeah, and then downswing sequence is based on the timings of the peak angular velocities. The timing of the peak angular velocity is reasonable here, about here, when the club is aligned vertically on the way down. The timing is okay, but you have to bring all these peaks up more. So in other words, you have to turn faster. But if you don't build that coiling in the backswing, it's hard to turn the body fast because you will mostly will throw the club. So these peaks has to increase. And then ultimately, in order, this is the club angular velocity, this is the wrist angular velocity, but in order to bring the club angular velocity up to this level here, more than anything, you have to increase the wrist angular velocity to this level here. But because you let it go early, the later it's hard to build speed. So the advantage of having large backswing, the club staying closer to the body is that, so that on the way down, you can keep the club closer, and the later you have to let it go. The head will go quickly. But in your club swing, you have a tendency of casting there.
They just started yesterday.
So that's what I see here.
And that's it? That's the only problem? Wow.
And then now look
But
at the,
imagine if you did this analysis in the beginning. You probably have made progress.
Yeah. Should have done it a long time ago, Dr. Kwan.
no, not too early, because there's the right time for swing analysis. So when your eyes cannot really tell much, or you have suspicion, but you wanna really confirm it by going through the swing analysis, then you have MRI scan. You need MRI scan. If the doctor suspects something. But so here, this is how you interact with the ground. Again, look at your body posture. I will just run the stick figure. So center mass is fairly moving horizontally here, but not much vertical motion here. Now, the middle graph shows the force, the ground reaction forces here. So these two are the forces acting on the feet. This one is sum of these two. So this is a total force here. And then in this graph, red is the combined force. Blue is the force acting on the right side. And then green is the force acting on the left side. So in the backswing, as you progress here, so by about here, you have a good amount of force acting on the trail side, not much force on the leader side. This is good. So you have a lot more force on the trail side. However, this net, the combined force, red line should go also high up here. That means you should have a net push. When you stand on the ground here, then the ground reaction force and your body weight are equal to each other. Because the weight is acting downward, the ground is supporting that, so the forces are the same. And then in the vertical direction, we interact with the ground by pushing harder and also pushing less. So when the force goes above the body weight, that means you're pushing more than your body weight. That's called active push. When the force becomes less than that, it's called the unweighting. So by repeating push and unweighting, we are interacting with the ground in the vertical direction. So as a result, when you have a rhythmic up and down motion here, so in order to interact with the ground in the vertical direction, you must have a vertical motion. What generates the vertical motion is active push. So this is more than the body weight, so you have a net upward force. This accelerates your body upward. When you don't need this, then you will reduce the force. So then acceleration becomes downward here. Then that will slow down the upward motion. Eventually, it will promote downward motion. So by having this alternating net force, you're moving body up and down. So we have active up and down motion here. But if you generally more moving the body horizontally here, you don't have that much vertical interaction with the ground. So
I need a bigger kick. Kicking.
yeah. So here, particularly around here, when the club is horizontal here, you should be able to push the ground harder with the right leg. So the net force should be above the body weight here. Okay? And then, so here the force is a bit less than the body weight. Here the force is less than the body weight. So you have unweighting here, But after this good push, then the unweighting starts from here, and then it should show continuous unweighting. You should have a lot more unweighting so that you can push later hard. But because you don't have much unweighting here, you cannot push the ground hard here, and then the timing is not right. This is too late. It's at impact. Your peak force occurs at impact, but it should occur
Now.
about here. Here you should have maximum force, and that should go to this level, and then coming down this way.
You're gonna get quizzed on this, guys, so
No, this is
there'll
great.
be a quiz afterward.
So here,
Jeez.
in the downswing here, you will see that the pelvis is sliding this way. We're leaning backward, but the lead leg is not pushing the ground that actively here.
Bent, still bent and not pushing.
Well, and would the lead leg ground force help with the pelvic turn and the follow through too?
Yeah. Because the pelvis is inclined forward here. With this, when you kick the ground actively, this pushes the hip this way. It promotes this turn here. So you have kick and turn this way. Instead of so you need to have a lot more active interaction with the ground. Now, I will show you another pattern, so which will give you a good idea of what should happen. But now this one, the lower one here, is called the moment arm, which is basically separation between the force arrow and the center of mass here. Okay, so imagine you are using a wrench and try to turn something. You have a flat tire on the road, and you have to, replace it with your spare tire. Then you have to use a wrench. So here's the center of the wrench, and then you're holding here. That this distance is called the moment arm, because your force is acting here. The same thing. When your force is acting through this line here, your center of mass, the body center of mass serves as a center of rotation. So this is the center of rotation. Your force is going this way here. So this gap here is the moment arm, as if this is the length of the wrench that you're holding. So then, if you multiply the length of the moment arm and the force magnitude here, that gives the torque you are generating in the frontal plane. Okay? Now, this is when you have the longest moment arm here in the backswing. So this is the maximum here. So you have maximum separation here. And then this is a bit too early. Okay? So this has to happen more toward here.
Don't understand that, so what does that mean? What should I do?
So in this one, your force is already passing through the center of mass here, so you have no moment arm here. But still, at this point, the force you are getting from the ground is should more pass through your hip joint here in the frontal view. So when you push the ground, you have the feel of really pushing the ground with the right leg here. So the force is acting this way. When the force comes this way, then this force will be still inclining that way, but it will stay on the left side of the center of mass. So that will give you good moment arm here. Using that, you have to generate this turn here. So instead of early quick motion and then throwing the club only, you really have to feel the body motion turning this way. By pushing the ground, you're turning, and then building the climax here. So keep pushing so that peak goes a bit later. Okay, so maybe around here, when you have active push with the trail side, there you have the longest moment arm. And then the force will go to the other side. But up until this point here, this is when the pelvis rotation is completed. You see the ground rotation force is passing near the center of mass. So So you have really short momentum all the way to here. But it goes here, reaches the peak, and it should continuously increase. Particularly, this top of action. Here, this force should incline quite a bit here. In order to incline this force more, one way to do that is you unweight. If the force decreases, if the vertical force decreases, then the tip goes down here, then you will have more inclination of the force arrow. So at this stage, it's really important to have a good unweighting here. So by the time you reach the top here, you're already going through a good amount of unweighting here. So before that, you have to push the ground hard. Then it will create this upward motion. Once you push hard, then toward the end, you don't have to push. If you keep pushing, then this happens. So when you have a good push up to this point here, then you have to reduce the force. That gives the unweighting here. Unweighting, with that you can drop the body and then kick on this side here. So kick and throw and then kick and throw. This is what you need. But currently what you're doing is here. Or throwing the club only instead of using the body motion.
Now, I noticed that on your first video, it was that you pushing the legs.
So he had good up and down motion. It could be because when he used the rope and all these things, he can do that. But once he has the club in his hand, then certainly this will go
That's
away.
hard though, because you work on your rope drills a lot, so you're doing it properly in the rope drills.
Just gotta translate.
Is that right?
So you have to connect those. And I think this is mainly what I see in the club swing. We can develop good rhythm, up and down motion, rhythmic motion with the rope. So we need to see that rhythm in the club swing. But in the club swing, as you can see here, it's mostly just a wrist motion here. The body is pretty much sliding horizontally here. You don't have much vertical action here. And when you use the legs well, then with that you can have an active turn here. Imagine you try to throw a frisbee, not just using the arms here, but you have to use the whole body and then let it go. That has to come from the.
But I thought I was.
leg.
That's what's frustrating, because I thought I was,
Right.
but that says I'm not more. So I gotta
Because
do
when
it
you
more.
think vertical motion, you think of like almost like early extension, like your spine angle changing, right?
Yeah.
So this vertical motion shouldn't come from. This vertical motion shouldn't come from more upright body posture, and then you are just lifting this up here. Rather, good inclined position, and then turning about the spine axis, promote that action, and then let the club go around. With the rope motion, it's a lot easier. And you have to really implement that rhythm in your club swing.
Were you surprised by any of this data? Or when you saw me swing, you knew, you could tell what
Yeah,
that was
when I was watching your swing, and also I knew because I knew you had a bit too much wrist motion here, so I kind of expected
So
this.
you've seen enough to be able to.
So the reason why I allowed you to go through swing unless today is because you need to see this, and then it will give you a better idea of what has to be done. Yeah, and then so by now here, when you are going to this top of action here, you should have a lot longer momentum at this point. Okay, at this point you should have a lot longer momentum, but the momentum is still here because the arrow is still passing close to the center of mass here. And then later, so at this point you have the longest momentum here because now the center pressure keeps moving this way here. So the arrow is moving away from the center of mass. Now you have the longest. With that, you have the most unrating here, but this is severely delayed. Severely delayed. And then you have the most torque generated here, but it's still way under the elite man's average maximum.
Okay, so all that means to me, that's all foreign language. What I'm taking from that is more pace and let the body
Yeah.
pull that
Yeah.
back.
During the backswing, you should have good leg action and turn here. With that, let it go around instead of. So in the swing plane view here, if you look at how you start the backswing, your elbow is flexed here a little bit. So you lifting the club head here, and then let it go. So this has to come from active body motion here. Turn about the spine axis, and then let it go around your body all the way here. So if you make a bit flatter pad by inclining a bit more, then you cannot really throw like this because it has to go more around your body instead of going up here.
You won't make that wrist compensation if you start with a greater spine angle and put the ball out a little further.
But the thing is that this may be easier for your spine. You don't have to turn a lot for the moment. By raising the hands high and then just giving the wrist motion, more wrist motion, is a bit easier for your back. That's true. But in order to increase the speed, then you have to engage these muscles more actively. So then you have to create good rotation about the spine axis. Okay. So here, in order to have a good push at the right timing here, so about here you have to have a maximum force here. In order to have a good push before that, you should have good unweighting. Unless you have good unweighting, you cannot push ground hard because we are interacting with the ground by pushing and the unweighting and the pushing. You are repeating push and unweight. With that, you are increasing the interaction with the ground. So initially, you know this peak is not too much here. So it goes up, but it's not too much. But then you have more unweighting. With that, you are having more push. So as you increase the unweighting, then you will be able to increase the push later. So the average should be, the vertical force average should be equal to body weight. So when we go up here, then we must go down. But by having more up and more down, you have active vertical interaction.
So the lead leg ground force starts at the downswing.
Yes,
the top of the down.
the force, no, at the top of action, you have a maximum unweighting. So the
Maximum
vertical force is
unweighting at the top of the
the minimum here. And then after that, it starts increasing rapidly.
And then the max lead leg force is at what point?
About here.
Okay.
When the club is aligned about vertical here, this is when the maximum force has to occur. But in order to have the unweighting, good unweighting in time, then you must have good push using the right leg. But you are just creating the lifting motion here, but your body is not really pushed up that much.
Faking it.
So, and then this peak is delayed. The peak is kind of delayed here. So you have, at the beginning of the downswing, you should have a good torque generated. So that with that, we have more body-driven downswing. Then, initially, in the first half of downswing, you are generating good body turn. Then in the second half, by slowing down the body, you are giving good amount of momentum to the club. That way, club speed increases rapidly. But if you fail to develop good amount of body motion, later you don't have that much to give. Imagine you work hard and then you save a lot of money. Then when your child starts something, you can help, right? So for that, the body has to develop good amount of momentum in early phase of downswing, and then you give the momentum to the club so that the club can accelerate
Let it go.
rapidly here. So at this point, let me show you another pattern which will inspire you quite a bit. So this is Grant Waite, former PGA Tour player. He's generating good speed here. this is the top view.
Nice and square, perfect.
Yeah, these are almost the cleaved plane. This is essentially, the swing plane is essentially a cleaved plane. And then this is the hand motion plane. These are almost parallel to each other. They are aligned and they're more toward the target here. So this is what I promote. Yeah. And then swing plane here. As you can see, the club head initially moves along the swing plane and then goes higher and have nice looping motion here. So the highest point, or the most, when the about here the club is deviated the most from the swing plane here. But as it goes to the top of action here, it's slightly dropped. So it goes high up and then it's dropped.
But the hands don't drop, the club head drops, correct? That's what you were talking to Jeff about. You don't want the hands to drop, you want the club.
The hand should stay here, that the club goes and then drop a little bit here. So then, on the way down, he's dropping the club. So he has good shallowing motion. This is because the motion is more body-driven at the beginning of the downswing. When it's a body-driven swing, you don't have to pull this. When the swing plane is steep, then it's because you're pulling it. You are throwing the club head up here. That's why the swing plane becomes steep. You go up here, slight looping motion, and then the body-driven downswing motion automatically brings this down. So he's actually moving. The club head is initially here at the top of action, but he's dropping it to this level here.
And he's still throwing the club head?
Yeah. You see, here near the impact, you will see that he's pushing the ground good here. And then the lead leg is extended more here. So let it go, let it through. And then the slope, he's over 6 feet. The swing plane is slightly less than 47 degrees, whereas it was 52 point something. Right? Pelvis motion is more balanced here. And then X factor, you were about here. He has a continuous increase all the way to top of action. And also, so this is when the two lines are pretty much paired to each other. So here, both the pelvis and the shoulders are slightly open toward the target. And then as you start the backswing, both are rotating, but the shoulder catches up. So about here, now these two lines are paired to each other. But in your case, when the shoulder turned about this much, both the pelvis and shoulder were aligned. So you had a zero X factor about here. That means you have an early, quick motion here. You are turning these too early, quickly. And then as the shoulder keeps rotating, this is the maximum.
Big X factor, wow. Way over 90, wow.
And then
The X factor is
the separation.
between
Yeah.
those two, okay.
This is kinematic sequence here. So in his case, the peak angular velocity occur about at the center of the backswing, time-wise, about here. But this is the arms, this is the club here. These are happening in the second half here. And then this is a transition sequence. Well separated transitions. Pelvis, thorax, shoulders, arms, and the club here. Sequential. Because you see the amount of his shoulder turn here. So because his shoulders are turning quite a bit, so he has good coiling here. With there, you can have a gradual transition. But if your shoulders are not turned that much, that means your body is not turning that much, particularly when you have a more than average pelvis turn, but shoulders not turning as much, so you have less separation. With that, So your body is not fully loaded. Your muscle is not fully loaded because in the backswing motion. Then in the transition, we cannot have this elongated transition phase and the very well separated sequential transition. And then downswing time peak timing is similar, but we can see that the angular velocity is a lot larger here. So these peaks are a lot higher. And from there to impact, the body loses angular velocity quite a bit. But the wrist angular velocity increases rapidly here. And also, one main difference is that he is starting uncocking at this point here. So wrist angular velocity stays negative. That means he keeps having cocking. So even this is top of backswing, but as the downswing starts, still he has cocking on the way down. Then uncocking starts here. But in your case, because you have a loose wrist here and then try to throw this, so the uncocking starts at top of backswing. And then so these peaks should be higher, and then you have to lose a lot of angular velocity and then gain wrist angular velocity. So this goes above the man's average, then this goes above the man's average. Now, this is the frontal view here. I think you can increase the stance width a bit more. Increase the stance width. And so in his case, at the beginning, he has a lot more force on the left side. Using this, he's starting the backswing actively. Again, I ask you to respond to my, verbal cue, right? So, for example, ready, set, go, or ready, set, go, whatever that is. If you find the right timing and then you have active motion, then at the beginning of the backswing, your lead leg is actually pushing the ground actively, and then that starts the body motion here. Okay? Start the body motion, and then you will be able to push the ground to go with the right leg here. And at this point here, so we have a peak value. So we have good loading on the trail side here. And then you are pushing harder here. So this is way above the body weight line. So you have net push. And then if you can look at the force arrow, this is passing through the hip joint here. You have to push the ground so that the force is passing this way here. Then this force goes like this, and then you have a reasonable momentum here. So still is not maximum here. So the maximum momentum in the backswing occurs here. You have the longest separation here. And after that, now here, the force passes through the center of mass, so no momentum, zero momentum. After that, this is top of action. Look at this. This force decreases quite a bit. It's because of the unweighting here. So when the vertical force decreases, then force arrow inclines more, then you have more separation here. So momentum increases. So at this point, although he's going through a good amount of unweighting, so the force is not that large, but because of this long momentum, he's already generating large torque at the beginning of the downswing. So that's how you do. Here. Instead of just go here and then try to slide here. By pushing this, you are shifting to this side here. Then you will have this horizontal force acting, good amount of horizontal force acting on the trail side here. So go here and then push and then bring the body back. Instead of just go here. So then maximum unweighting, but longest momentum here, good amount of torque at the beginning of the downswing. The longest momentum here. And then now, look at this. So around here, he has a maximum force here. Good push here. It's because of this good unweighting here. This unweighting is coming from good push here. So that's why you need to have this stepping like action. Kick and then kick and kick. With this, you're actually pushing the ground to develop good amount of force acting here. Push, push. And then with this leg push, you are creating this body turn, turn, turn. If you don't create that much body turn, then generally you're using the arms. Lift the arms and then let it go here. So, so this pattern is very different from yours.
I'll get there. Give me time, Dr. Kwan.
Yep.
It is hard because you do it properly with the rope, right?
You have to bring it to your swing, and also intentionally keep a little bit of up and down motion, but not in the standing position. When you try to go up and down, it's awkward. But when you give a little inclination here, then push, push, and up and down motion. Basically, hip is moving up and up, but this is not moving a lot here. So maintain here, but promote this up motion in the hip here is creating this turn here. But if you maintain more upright body posture and then try to bring this up, holding is going up here.
Okay.
So a lot of the basic setup changes that you were talking about will help that.
So you have to experiment. You can visualize the plane here, holding with this, and then if you turn your body this way, then you'll have better posture. So we need to come up with that one quickly. So you can, I'm thinking about something you can fold. And then when you spread it out and then put it around your body, then you have that. So swing, 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 swing this way.